Coming up on the Brave Sports Network, we have the Nate Kilbert program right here on the Brave Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL and WPRL.org, and Facebook Live, WPRL's Facebook Live page, as we bring a close to what has turned out to be an exciting Alcorn basketball season. The Lady Braves up first. Of course, you know the story. Lady Braves with a heck of a run. The 6 seed beat the 3 seed, the 2 seed, and played the 1 seed for the championship. Of course, the transfer portal is open, and we're seeing some names out there. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this roster. So a lot to talk about here on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL and WPRL.org, and on Facebook Live, our WPRL Facebook Live page as you're watching right now. Our producers on the radio side of the house, Jamario Brooks, and the one and only Cedric Tillman, doing a fantastic job throughout this whole sports season. We go from football to men's and women's basketball. Coaches shows a lot in the hopper. And before you know it, it'll be football season next year. We'll be live in studio with Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas. We want to, before we get started, we want to say congratulations to Alcorn President Dr. Tracy Cook. News just coming down the line. Dr. Tracy Cook, according to the Board of Trustees of Higher Education, named Dr. Tracy Cook the 21st president of Alcorn State University. So it is official. Dr. Tracy Cook is president of Alcorn State University, the 21st president of this great institution. And of course, Nate Kilbert had a conversation with Dr. Cook before he left going to Birmingham. And I think that conversation rings true as he's smiling and he joins us. Coach Kilbert, how you doing, sir?
Doing good, Charles. Doing good. What about yourself?
I am doing well. First of all, thoughts and prayers with you and your family. I know it's kind of been a tough last week or so. How you holding up?
I'm holding up good, Charles. I mean, family is bond. We got a close knit family here. We're looking over each other's shoulder. I mean, we're doing good. We're doing good.
We're going to take a timeout here. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this timeout here on the Brave Sports Network.
At Alcorn, there is a closer relationship between the faculty and the students.
We got with my organic chemistry professor. He actually stepped outside of the classroom for extra hours one day, and he sat with us and he answered all of our questions.
We prepare the students to face what is out there in the real world.
And I'm actually learning here. I feel like teachers are actually helping me.
All the teachers tend to know everybody. When the teachers know everybody, you can always have a relationship with your teachers and you can always meet them for help.
Here at Alcorn, we understand that we share some commonalities with one another. So in some ways, we're already family.
Seeing everybody, seeing more people that looked like me and had the same mannerisms as me, it was fantastic.
The variety of people here really made me feel at home.
When I stepped on campus, it felt like I was supposed to be here.
When they say the grass is greener here, they really mean it.
All right, we welcome you back to the Nate Kilbert program. Charles Edmond with Lady Braves head coach Nate Kilbert. Coach, it's been an interesting week to say the least, and you know what? I kind of miss it already. I kind of miss what's going on. The season, it's just so many games. You got 18 conference games, men and women. That's 36 games. The men 37, 40. SWAC basketball games and countless non-conference games. There's a lot of games. Football, you got one a week. It's so much of a grind that, when it's over, you hate that it's over, but you look forward to it because it's such a grind, kind of a different grind for basketball season. How long does it take for you under normal circumstances to unwind from all that?
Well, Charles, the biggest thing is when you have a deep roster, it's a little easier. But, when you have a short roster like we had this year, it's kind of tough on the kids. A lot of time I think that hurts the kids because they be wanting for it to be over, But fortunately, that this group wasn't like that. they hung in there and they stayed together, and we were able to get through this short, you know, we didn't have the depth that we wanted to have. And our kids, I thought they did a good job just hanging in there, sticking with each other, believing in each other, And it's hard to unwind from that, especially when you go into the tournament and play the way we did. I think our kids are excited. We could have played 2 more weeks, I think, with that short lineup that we had, simply because they started to play well late in the year. And it's a lot easier when you're winning. When you're losing, you seen every little thing that happened, you blow it out of proportion. When you're losing, when you're winning, you seem to forget about some of those things that are really not important. You forget about them. So I'm just so proud of this team to be able to get to where they did in the tournament. And now it's time for them to unwind a little bit. We like for our kids to get back and really hit their books and concentrate on other things other than basketball, because it's been a long season. And it's a lot longer for us simply because we had so many injuries. But we persevered and we got through it.
You definitely did that, Coach. And just going into the tournament, as a 6 seed, you know, beating the 3 seed, the 2 seed, taking on the 1 seed, you felt really good about your team. And you said it weeks prior to, if we can get in this tournament, we can definitely make some noise. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I feel good about going into the tournament because all of the teams that in our conference that we had played, Jackson State is the only team that really just kind of dominated us in the first game. We played well against them in the game at home, but we played well against those teams that was on our side, like Southern and Grambling. We played well against them, So we felt like we could beat them if we executed and we made free throws and made layups, because we thought in the first game we didn't take care of the ball against Southern, so we felt like if we take care of the ball, make our layups, and make our free throws, we win the game. We just felt like we were the better team, and it's kind of the same way against Grambling. We felt like we just was the better team, and we started to get our act together late in the season. We started to play real good basketball, and I tell everybody. When we got in the tournament, we didn't play against no hams. We played the best of the best. Number 3, number 2, and number 1. So, I'm so proud of our kids. But going into the tournament, we thought we was playing good basketball. We thought we had an opportunity to go further in the tournament and actually win the tournament. And I really, truly think if we had a little bit more depth, some of those kids that got hurt had been with us, I think we could have won the tournament, because I really feel like both teams starters in that championship game, neither team started to play well, So I feel like, a little bit more depth, and we would have been tournament champs.
Uh, Talk about that first game, Coach, going up against Southern University. And we're going to start there. Southern University, a team, clearly I thought we could match up well going in. Just talk about that matchup with the Jaguars.
Well, you talk about the matchup with Southern. Anytime you play Southern, you always got to be ready. It's a thug fest, to the point where you don't look for them to score a lot of points, and they're not going to allow you to score a lot of points. I think that's the biggest thing. They're sound defensively. They're a physical team. They play kind of like we play. They slow the game up. They like to play at their own pace. You have to force them to play faster. You have to force them to turn the ball over. But we knew it was going to be a tug of war. Anytime we play Southern, it's never a high scoring game. It's always a physical game. And normally Southern has been over the past few years, they have found a way to win those low scoring games against us. The game's always been close, but we weren't able to pull it off. But we felt like we were the better team. The past couple of years, we felt like we were the better team. They just found a way to win. And I think a lot of it had to do with their experience and their understanding of what they wanted. But I thought our kids was really ready to play against them this year. I think having a former player playing for them this year, and they beat us at home. I think our kids wanted to kind of get back at Kayla a little bit. Not saying anything bad against her, because she did a good job at Southern, but I think our kids really wanted to beat her in that game. They didn't want Kayla beating them twice. I think that played into the game a lot. So our kids came out and played really well.
We're talking with Lady Braves head coach Nate Kilbert. Those on the radio side working on Coach Kilbert's audio. So we're working on that as we speak. Coach, 29-22 at the break for those watching. The pace. I thought, with the exception of the Jackson State game, the pace was where we wanted. And then, especially minus the Jackson State game, we got off to really good starts. Something, and you and I talked about this, the nerves factor, being on this big stage. It's new for some, not new for others, but the pace, the pace of play, and the way we started the games, both the first two games against Southern and Grambling, I felt really comfortable in terms of where we were, as far as that is concerned. Were you concerned about the pace, and were you concerned about the nerves? You and I talked about it. Like, when are the nerves going to kick in? I think Jackson State, yes, we can say that. But the first two games, man, we didn't look nervous at all.
No, we didn't look nervous at all. But Charles, it's a lot easier to not be nervous when you got your legs. I think the conditioning played more into Jackson State nerves than just being nervous itself. Because I don't think our kids are nervous at all about that stage or about playing against Jackson State, about it being a championship game. I just think they was just dead tired. A lot of things look different when you are tired and you're trying to handle the ball, you're trying to pass the ball, and you just don't have the legs to be able to do some of the things you do. A lot of people want to, they want to say it's nerves, but it's really that championship game. I don't think it was. I just think if you look at both of those teams, Jackson State have a lot of veterans on their team, and I don't think it was nerves. I just really don't. But back to the Southern game, it's always good to get off to a good start. I thought both teams was fresh. You could see the energy level in that place. It's just like both teams just ready to explode. But we knew one thing going into that game: we had to do a better job of taking care of the ball and handling their press. And I thought the key to us being successful was Neil. Neil did actually a great job of playing the point guard position. For remember, we talking about somebody who did not have a backup in that tournament. Backus was at home dealing with personal issues with her family. So McCaffrey had to play just about the whole first two games by herself. We had Caitlin to come in, but Caitlin is not a point guard. So I thought Neil was the key to that game. She set the pace for us. She took good care of the basketball, and she really shot those free throws well. And I just thought that was the difference.
Yeah, as we're looking at the highlights, I mean, we only missed, I think, one free throw in that second half. Nia McAlfee was 11 of 12, and the Lady Braves pulled away. And the free throws definitely were the story. Who would have thought, Nate Kilbert, the way that we struggled from the free throw line near the bottom end as far as team stats is concerned from the free throw line, that man's Grambling as well as Southern University, we basically won those two games from the line. What were you thinking as we were, knocking those things down, especially the Southern game in which, Southern kept the game close?
Yep, and free throw shooting was the reason why we won it. But that's something we've been talking about all year. We talk about it in practice. We try to go into practice and try to emulate some of the things that might happen in the game when it comes to free throw shooting. We're talking about them going up, keeping the same mechanics that you had, and it's all about confidence. Now, we always feel like we had kids who was capable of being a good free throw shooter, especially Neil. Neil has always been shooting free throws well for us in practice. She just never really carried over to the game to the point where she was getting a lot of free throws. And we felt like once she got to the line as many times as she did, we felt like she's gonna make the majority of them. But free throws is all about technique and confidence. And our kids shot the free throws in that game with a lot of confidence. But I really feel like if we had a shot free throws better during the regular season, we might have been a 2 seed or a 3 seed. But you know, I just feel like we didn't do a good job of shooting free throws and making layups, and we put ourselves in the position that we was in. But we didn't complain about it. We went on and took care of business down the stretch, and I thought our kids were a lot more focused. They did all the things that they needed to do for us to be successful. And one thing we started doing was just really concentrating on who was in front of us. That's all we was concerned about. Who's the next team in front of us? Let's take care of them. And I thought that helped us when it came to a lot of things we weren't doing well. And free throw shooting was one of those. Free throw shooting can keep a lead for you. Free throw shooting can increase a lead for you, and it also can help you catch up when you're down. And I thought that was huge for us the way we shot them, especially against Southern.
What was the speech to your team, coach, in the locker room? I mean, a number of people, and I'm on different podcasts and different shows, had that 3-6 matchup. Some called it a toss-up. Some figured the Lady Braves and predicted the Lady Braves would get it done. what was the speech to your team, the excitement, number one, getting back to the tournament and then winning that game? How excited was that locker room, and what was your speech to your team afterwards?
Well, my biggest thing was I was really scared to go in the locker room because I knew they always had some kind of plan for me for getting me wet coming into the locker room, and
Okay.
it was about 10 minutes before I went into the locker room for real because I knew they was waiting on me. And eventually, and I think the coaches got caught up into this too. They suckered me into the locker room because I thought it was over. I thought they were all was dressed. And as soon as they brought me in the locker room, they threw water all over me. You know what I mean? My thing to them was that, are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with this? Because I didn't want them to be satisfied with just winning one game. I say, are you satisfied? And they said, no, we're not satisfied, coach. I said, well, who's in front of us? And they said, we don't know yet, coach. I said, well, what the two teams that got a chance of being in front of? Said, well, we think Grambling going to win, coach. I said, okay, Grambling's in front of us. Let's focus on that. And I say, let's not be satisfied. That was my biggest speech to them, was just telling them not to be satisfied with this one win. We can do better. We are better. I think we're the best team on this side. And for some reason, I think they believe that by the way they played.
Lady Braves definitely got it done by the final score of 59-52. And now you get ready for Grambling. We're going to take a break right here. We'll look at Grambling. We'll look at Jackson State. We'll put a capper on this season. Transfer portal's wide open. And we'll talk about this roster. This roster will definitely change. I counted 8 players that potentially could have been playing their last game against Jackson State. The COVID year, this is the last time we'll be talking about a COVID year. The COVID year goes away after this year. So some players played out their eligibility. Some have a COVID year left. Some have a decision to make. So there's a lot to talk about as this roster gets remade. So we'll get to all of that coming up after this 2-minute timeout. We'll be right back after this here on the Nate Kilbert program.
Founded in 1920, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has produced some of the most iconic names in sports. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M, Southern, Texas Southern, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff have united to embark on a new era of greatness. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, building champions for life.
Alcorn provides our students with the knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes they need to go out in the workforce to provide the best quality client-centered care.
This program is very beneficial. I think that they have provided me a lot more information to help guide my nurse practice.
We are preparing a well-rounded student who's able to go out abroad in the workforce. The faculty give us the knowledge we need in order to go out there in the hospital and save lives.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or the aircraft. It's something more. It's the will to fight and determination to win, found inside each and every Marine that answers a nation's call. Battles won.
All right, we welcome you back to the Nate Kilbert program here on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL and WPRL.org. Coach, where I'm talking to you right now, I am in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Lady Braves softball scheduled to play tomorrow and Saturday, but there's rain in the forecast here. So the series will be Saturday and Sunday here in Pine Bluff. I just think about that Pine Bluff Valley swing and how important of a swing that was, coming back here. And I remember playing UAPB, the Lady Lions, we led 14-7. I mean, these games, you kind of remember the little moments. We had a 7-point lead in that game, and they went on a 10-2 run. They led by 1 at the break, and we all kind of know what happened, a bad quarter. And, hey, it is what it was. And so you just think about those things and what might have been. But you look at the back half of it, the fact that we got to the championship game. Does the regular season just kind of get faded out? Like, look, what happened is what happened. We got to the championship game. We were one step away from winning this whole thing as a 6th seed. You look back on the regular season, or you focus more on those 3 games in the postseason?
Well, you have to be more focused on the 3 games in the postseason, simply because the regular season is definitely in your rearview mirror. I mean, we could have came in number 2 or number 3, but it doesn't matter anymore because you didn't win it. You came in number 2 or number 3, you still didn't win it. You're still going to have to find a way to win the tournament, and that's the thing, is to get in the tournament. I don't care what seed you are. The thing is to get in it. When you get in it, you always have a chance to win it. Simply, we proved that simply because we play against the best teams supposedly in the tournament with 2, 3, and 1, and we got to the championship game. So I think it's just huge that we were able to do what we did down the stretch, to be able to get a 6th seed, to be able to get in the tournament. I think that was huge. The last part of our regular season, but once you get in it, you can't be thinking about what you did in the regular season. It might be some adjustments you have to make to actually get to where we got to in the tournament. But it's simple. We did a lot of things a lot better the last 10 ball games than we did all year. I mean, that's the reason why we got in the tournament, and I think we carried some of those things over into the tournament that we was doing well in the final few games of our season. And that's how you win tournaments to me. Hot teams going into tournaments have a better chance of winning them than teams that are not playing well. So that's just the way the game is. And fortunately, our kids was able to continue the little ride that we had going into the tournament.
The one thing we're seeing already with March Madness in the postseason, unfortunately, it happened to our men. We were riding a 9-game winning streak, and then we come up against an A&M team that beat Alabama State, beat Southern University, and that got them in the tournament. And then they got hot in the second half. Despite what happened with them, they were kind of on the outside looking in as far as their men are concerned. Just try to make the correlation of, you might stumble and bumble through the regular season, and then somewhere the light bulb goes off. You string a couple, you feel pretty good, you feel confident, you get in the postseason, and that other stuff, no one really talks about that. So I mean, I'm thinking that, is it the regular season? Of course, you got to play the regular season to determine which 8 teams are going to be in the tournament. But it's the teams that are playing well in the small moment, the last week of the season. I mean, we started playing well. We were playing well off and on, but, Cheatham hit the shot of the year. Well, Tajane right now, I think you can say that. Tajane hit the shot of the year to beat Grambling, but Cheatham's shot helped us get in the tournament against Prairie View. And then we found ways down the stretch to win games to get us in. And so I think we got hot at the right time. I mean, is there such a thing as peaking too early? I mean, if you won 10, 11 in a row and then one loss and it's all over. I mean, of course, you take those 10, 11 wins in a row. I guess it's really no solid formula. I mean, you got to find a way to get it done in that moment, whether you're struggling going into the tournament or whether you're red hot.
Yeah, I agree with you, Charles. And the thing about it is, a lot of times, I think teams can win and still not be playing well. Dealing with looking back at our boys and stuff playing. Me and Coach Bussey talk a lot about that. Our boys was winning, but they weren't playing the way Coach Bussey wanted them to play. They were still finding ways to win. That's a sign you're a good basketball team, when you can win when you're not really playing the way you want to play. So I think teams going into the tournament that way, you still trying to find yourself. We went into the tournament kind of playing some pretty good basketball, a lot better than what we had been playing earlier in the year. But I think it had more to do with us getting healthier going into the tournament than we were. Because some of those kids that was playing with those injuries wasn't nagging them as much going into the tournament and down the stretch. I think that's what really made us play better in the tournament, because we didn't do some of the things that we was doing earlier in practice. We didn't play up and down a lot in practice. We didn't have a lot of contact in practice, and a lot of times that hurts you when you're going into games. You don't have contact in practice. They're not used to it. But I think we just couldn't afford to. We couldn't afford to get anybody injured or hurt, because we already was short of depth. You know, we had already lost a few kids, so a lot of things that we did in practice was just stuff that, you know, transition and stuff. You know, kind of stuff to kind of keep us in shape for us getting up and down the floor. We did a lot of shooting. We did a lot of working on our offensive sets. We did a lot of working on our defensive sets. But you know, a lot of times, you know, by you just winning doesn't mean you're playing well. You know, you just when you can win playing bad, that means you just have a good basketball team. But everybody wants to go into the tournament playing well, and then when you get there, it don't take but one bad game to have you out of there. I was telling our kids, you know, just before the championship game, it's hard to get here. I don't care how good you are. It's hard to get to that championship game because you don't have to have a one bad quarter, and then you have a bad quarter in the tournament. You done, you know. So it's hard to get there, and it's hard to get back there. So I say you have to treasure those moments that you have when you get there, and if you can win it, you better win it then, because nothing's promised to you. It's so hard to get back. It's a crying shame. You know, we feel good about where we are with the people that we think is coming back, that we can get back there. But we know that's one hard thing to do, is get in that tournament and just win. Just get by that first game is hard, Charles. When you get by that first game, you can loosen up a little bit more and play better. But that first game is so hard. It's just, you know, it's just tough. And our kids treasure that moment. You know, I was just so glad to see Wright and Neil go out playing in the championship game. They, you know, they deserve that. You know, I feel real good for them to be able to do that. But you know, we have seniors next year that we want to do the same thing with them. We want to give them the opportunity to play in the championship game and actually have a chance to win the regular season. We really feel like we're good enough to do that, but we know it's a lot come with that. You know, you got to kind of stay injury free, because you know you always one or two kids away from just being a disaster, Charles. Because we had lost Destiny Brown at any point. It's been a disaster. I think we had lost Cheatham at any point. That's a disaster for us. So that's why I think depth is so important. We got to find ways to be able to get other kids in here that can help us. That when we have an injury to someone like Destiny or Cheatham or White, that we can still get past that and give them time to heal. And I think that's just huge.
Yeah, speaking of Landon Bussey, by the way, the Landon Bussey program, the season finale, we have that nailed down Tuesday at 5:30. Tuesday at 5:30. And so we'll look at the Brave season. We'll look at, of course, the game against Alabama A&M. And then the men have 6 seniors that might be playing in their final game. And we'll see that with the COVID year and all that. I know Coach Bussey had his exit meetings this week. And so I got a chance to talk with Kevin Furl and some others that were getting ready to go into those meetings. And so we'll see how those things go. So we'll be talking with Landon Bussey Tuesday at 5:30. Want to get it back to back, but didn't quite have the schedule right. Of course, this is recruiting time, Coach. So I'm sure, you know, with all of that, that's a very important, a critical time. We'll talk all more about that on the other side. All right, so Coach, you felt like obviously beating Southern, then Grambling State University. The Lady Tigers, I mean, what a terrific game that was. Got up to a fast start. Grambling kind of had us against the road. And we went on a 15-0 run. And that was the difference as Grambling grabbed the lead, but then Tajane Wright stepped in. You know, let's start with that game, Coach, and just the ebbs and flows. Grambling playing a bunch of different people, a lot of depth, just like Jackson State. And I was wondering in that Grambling game, was their depth going to be the difference? And I thought in that third quarter, and you even said it in the pregame, how you might be using some timeouts just because we were winded. And you did in the third quarter. And I was worried about the fourth quarter because the 15-0 run, that took a lot of energy. That took a lot of gas. And I was wondering how much gas we had in the tank. Talk about that game, and especially that fourth quarter in which that 15-0 run happened. It just shows you how the postseason's a whole nother deal. Who would have thought a month ago, you know, the Lady Braves in a SWAC tournament game's gonna have a 15-0 run. 15-0 run. You know, we've been on the other side of that as we know. We've been on the other end of that. But just talk about that Grambling game, Coach, and just the ebbs and flows, the back and forth, and then Tajane Wright, you know, shutting it all down.
Well, I think, Charles, the biggest thing about the 15-0 run wasn't the fact that it was a 15-0 run. It's the fact that who was it? It was against Grambling, a quality, top-notch, one of our better teams in our conference. We had that 15-0 run against Mississippi Valley, or somebody like that. We could have said, okay, yeah, we expected that, but that just shows how well we was playing at that point, Charles. It looked like Grambling had seized control of the game, and then we just came back. We stormed back on them. And I thought when we went up 8, I thought we got a little too comfortable with that. With 2 minutes or something left in the game, we were thinking the game was over. And I was constantly telling them on the sideline, this game is not over. And we got to stay focused. And, you see Grambling came back and tied the game up. It's just back and forward, but that's a sign of 2 real good teams playing against each other. And Grambling just have so much depth. I actually thought the Grambling game hurt us more going into the championship game than the tournament itself. The fact that, because I really truly believe, Charles, we would not have beaten them in overtime. If that game went into overtime, I just don't feel like we would have been able to pull that game off. That's why I was telling them we got to win this game now. We got to take the last shot. We got to score. We got to win the game, because she was exhausted. She was done, and I think they felt the same way. That's why they wanted to make sure that we kind of closed that game out. And I thought our kids did a real good job of closing the game out, executing down the stretch, because that was a big play. And Neil had one of the quickest kids that could play basketball in our league, checking her. She could have easily turned that ball over, trying to hold it for like 22 seconds to give us the opportunity to take the last shot. She did an excellent job of keeping her defender in between her and the ball, and she made the right play, got the ball to right at the elbow. We cut hard back door, and the whole night they have been leaving that person at the elbow trying to stop the back door. We knew that was going to happen. Now it was just a matter of Coach Tangier hadn't been having a great game. She had been getting that shot, but she wasn't making it. But it was a 3-point shot instead of a 2. Now all we needed was a 2-point shot to get the lead. And we just knew the kid was going to try to stop the back door and give her that room. And, man, when she knocked it down, you talking about relief, a sign of relief, because we did not want to go into overtime. We did not. We didn't feel like we had the energy level or the depth to be able to beat them in overtime. But it was just such a great ball game. I told the people in the media room that we're not charging enough for the tournament. People get a chance to see games like that. They pay for it. It was just a great moment for Wright, for her to be actually knocking down that game winner like that, and for her to been through what she's been through here at Alcorn. And it's just a great moment for her and for her teammates. I was glad to see her make that shot, because it's a shot that's going to be talked about for a while now. It's one of the greatest shots, I think, in Alcorn Lady Brave history.
Well, let's talk about Tajay Wright's story. I mean, she's got her degree, and she's shy doing interviews. And early in this season, she was struggling, but she was one of the first ones at practice. Assistant Coach Elvis Robinson was working with her one-on-one, and just her and Coach Robinson in the gym, and they're talking and trying to talk through it. And I was just wondering, and you and I've talked, when's Tajay Wright going to get it going, because we've seen the potential. And then I think slowly but surely she started getting it going. It wasn't that boom, boom, boom. Yeah. It took a little time. It took one step at a time, putting one foot in front of the other, knocking one shot down at a time, and you just saw the confidence grow. So, I mean, you just talk about the backstory with her. I mean, for her to make that shot, the little mid-range, I thought was really, really huge for her. Just tell folks her story in terms of just the year that she had, the struggles that she had early in the season, even in conference early on. But I thought the second half of conference, 1-3 at a time, great passer, good free throw shooter. Her game kind of turned around, and we saw the old Tajay Wright down the stretch.
Yeah, well, I think her missing the first half of the season, missing those a couple games that she missed, kind of really messed with her flow when it comes to with her teammates and stuff, and our offensive system and stuff. When she first got back, remember, I think she went like maybe 1 for 9 in the first game against New Orleans and stuff. In the first couple of games, I think she had a real tough time shooting the ball, but it had nothing to do with her work ethic. She's always one of the first in the gym and the last to lead. So she kept her confidence up for us shooting the ball and just putting the work in. That wasn't her problem. She always did that. And it's just a matter, sometimes you go through those slumps and those highs and lows, Charles, when you putting that work in, it just ain't falling for you. And just gonna have to see how much confidence that you have in yourself to continue to work. You know, you're being tested now, and that's what we tell her all the time. You're just being tested. Do you still believe in yourself? And she was having bad games, but she continued to believe in herself because even in the bad games she was having, she always found a way to hit a big shot for us. In some of those games, she would make a big shot for us just to get us over the hump, especially down the stretch. You know, I remember her hit some big shots in the Prairie View game. You know, it may not have been no more than one or two, but she always found a way to make those big plays. She made a big shot in the Pine Bluff game at home, you know, to keep a run going for us. You know, she always found a way to make those big shots for us. And you talking about a kid when we first got here who no one really expected to be who she was when it came to her ability to be able to be a big part of what we was trying to do. As a matter of fact, we as coaches weren't sure that she was ready to step in and do the things that we wanted her to do. But she kept working. She got herself in a little bit better shape, and she just pushed her way through it, you know. And we all knew she was a good shooter, you know, but there was other things that she could do well that we didn't know. She's one of the greatest passers on the team. She handled the ball well for her size. And just so many things. Like basketball IQ is high, you know, and we found out, you know, this is what we need for the system that we're running. We run a lot of misdirection stuff, and you have to kind of know what you're doing to really understand our offense. And she really cleans our offense up. We're always trying to get the ball in her hand because we know she's gonna make the right decision. And to see her just, you know, grow like she did over the years, and actually see her her senior year to be able to hit that shot, and then that's the shot that put us into the championship game. I mean, it's almost a storybook, fairy tale. You know, you want to tell. You know, you can write a book on that dealing with her. And she's a great student. She's a great person. You know, it couldn't happen to a better person. I just say it like that. And to see it happen for her it was just tremendous.
All right, so now what was the speech after the Grambling win? I mean, here you are climbing up the ladder. You beat the 3 seed. You eliminated them. Now you eliminated the 2 seed. What was the locker room scene like after the Grambling game?
Oh, we was all over the place. I was being pulled from several different places. As a matter of fact, I was kind of lost. You ever get lost in an arena, Charles? You know, you don't know where you're supposed to be going. I was kind of lost. The kids was just so excited. I ended up missing my media time. I ended up taking Wright and Destiny. They went before me. I actually supposed to went with them, but that was good because I was caught up doing something else with a reporter, and I got an opportunity to listen to them in the media room. And man, and when it was time for me to go up there after they had talked with the media, I like told Andre that hey, look, I'm not following that. These kids, man, they answered those questions, and you know they was real hyped up in there. They looked like they had done it before, you know. And then Andre was trying to get me. Andrew was trying to get me.
Oh, I think we lost Coach Kilbert there. Some great stories. I tell you what, this will be a good opportunity to take a time out here. We'll be right back after this on the Nate Kilbert Show.
The agriculture department is going to get you out there and help you be successful in your future endeavors.
Where the students have access to world-class facilities right here.
One thing I like about Alcorn is the small classrooms where you as a professor get the chance to interact or know all your students.
My professors are teaching me along the way. I will be prepared for the job.
Go the extra step. They go above and beyond what they don't have to do just to make sure that their students are successful.
Back, Charles.
All right, I believe we have Nate Kilbert back. All right, so Coach, that was a huge win. And now you're playing for a championship. Got to come down off the high. You got one more game. I don't know mentally and emotionally how you can do that. I mean, it's just, everyone, the Lady Braves are the talk of the SWAC tournament right now. And just the emotion, the energy, the social media interactions, all of that. How do you, and you've been a part of, the big dance and winning a championship. How do you calm the team down and get them refocused, taking on the number 1 seed?
Well, it's hard, Charles. I think the biggest problem for us is the conditioning side of it. They was, after that game, they was mentally, physically, they was just exhausted. This was the first time I heard them begging for ice baths. Coach, can we go back? Can we go back to the hotel and get ice baths? They was just, it was just draining. I mean, the whole process itself, and we even talked about the game not wanting to go into overtime and why. Neil was talking about, Coach, I'm glad we didn't go into overtime. I just wouldn't be able to help the team like I needed to. I said, well, that's past us now. Let's concentrate more. Let's concentrate on Jackson right now. So my concern going into that game was I just knew we was going to have a tough time with the conditioning part of it. And I hope the excitement of being there would get us through some of it. But you could see at the beginning of that game, Charles, just even Jackson State only had played two back-to-back games, but you can even see with their starters that they look like they was burnt too. But their bench came in and did a much better job of getting to balls, all the 50-50 balls they got them. But I think it's just hard to get your kids where they need to be when it comes to when you play three games back to back like that and not having the depth. I think if you had the depth, it'd have been a lot easier because we could have sub in the Grambling game, could have subbed a lot better in the Southern game, and that could have reserved some energy for us. But because I thought in the beginning of that game we had like 3 turnovers, and I thought a lot of those turnovers were dealing with conditioning, not necessarily bad or Jackson. Matter of fact, they weren't even pressing us. They weren't even trapping us, and we turned the ball over a couple of times. So I thought a lot of that had to do with condition. We missed a couple easy little shots right around the basket in the very beginning, and then the last score I remember was like 8-4. And then after that we just missed free throws, we missed layups. All the things that got us there, we started missing them and not making the play, and eventually that's what gave them the lead and allowed them to walk away from us. But they did it with their bench. They subbed quickly and brought their bench in, fresh legs in, and I thought that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we know what happened in the championship game, 68-44. Have some few highlights of those. For the first 2 games in the tournament, we got off to fast starts. The nerves, I didn't detect that. But in the championship game, you talked about the turnovers, and not saying much about the officials. There was some contact that was let go on both sides, really. That kind of, I don't know if you noticed that, but some contact early on that the officials just kind of let them play through that. But we I just didn't. I don't know if we were nervous. You talked about the depth, but I think Jackson hit some threes, and of course, you Avent, who was the MVP of the SWAC tournament. I mean, Jackson hit us with a barrage, and I thought maybe if we could settle it down. I think maybe the first 4 or 5 minutes of that first quarter, if we could just settle it down just a little bit, slow it down. Jackson was going at a little faster pace, and I know we controlled the pace in that second meeting, and I thought we would try to do the same thing. I know we were trying to do that. Did Jackson just kind of change the trajectory of that? Because it was a little faster pace than what we probably thought. Or was the pace at your liking in the first 5-6 minutes of the first quarter?
Well, the biggest thing about the pace of the game was it's hard to control the pace of the game when you're not making free throws, you're not making layups, and you're turning the ball over. Those are 3 factors that you cannot control the pace if you're doing that. And I think one big thing, Jackson kept getting so many second chance opportunities in the very first part of the game. You can't allow that, but a lot of that got to do with conditioning too, not being able to get to some of those loose balls like you was getting to in the first couple of games. But if you look at both teams starters, Avent didn't start for them. She's somebody off the bench. All the people that for Jackson off the bench was fresh legs. Even though Avent plays a lot of minutes for them, she's not a starter, but she plays a lot of minutes for them. But Breland came off the bench and played for them well. Hunter played well for them off the bench. All the bench kid, Walker played well. Walker didn't score a lot of points, but she kept Destiny Brown busy. You had to box her off the board. She was wearing us out on the board. I thought in the very beginning, I say we missing, but anytime Angel Jackson's around the hoop, you looking for her. So a lot of time that causes you to miss layups. That causes you to miss those little short shots because you change the projector of the shot because you're looking for her. You think she's going to block your shot. And if she's somewhere around you and you're trying to shoot over her, she's probably going to block your shot. So she changes the game in that way. But you look at, she didn't really have a big score. She had 4 points. That's one of your starters. Mahoney had 0 points. That's one of your starters. Luckett had 2 points. That's one of your starters. Uh, Boulder is the only one that had double-figure points out of the starters. Even Crump, who I think, who in my mind is the MVP of the league. I think she's the best player in the league because she plays on both sides of the ball. She can really defend. She can really score. I think that's what makes her the best player in the league because what she does on both sides of the ball. She only had 8 points, but she had 9 rebounds. So I think she changed the game in a lot more ways than people realize. And she's just a tough person to defend. But I really truly think that their bench was the difference in the game. If we had more depth, we would have made that game very interesting. The way we was playing some good basketball. If we had met them the first game of the tournament, that would have been a close game. That's why FAMU played them so close. Both teams got fresh legs now. FAM played them well. I thought we would have had a chance to beat them because we was really playing some good basketball. But I do think I must be straight with this. I do think both the best team to represent us actually went to the NC2A tournament. I do think that Jackson had the better team overall, but that's what tournaments are for. Anything can happen in a tournament. And the way we was playing, if we could have had a little bit more depth, I think we could have upset them. I really do.
And that brings a close to the Lady Braves season. We talk about the locker room tone. I know the first 2 games was jubilation. How tough was the locker room, and what was the speech to your team after the Jackson State game?
Well, they was sad that they lost, but at the same time, they was happy too. I mean, they felt good about what they had accomplished in that tournament. Especially, I talked to them about the way they sent their seniors out. I thought that was just great to be able to send them right out the way they did, kneel out the way they did. It's always huge for you take the seniors out like that, and it also was a big confidence booster for those who are not going to get on the transfer portal, who's going to come back and try to do it again next year, and maybe even have a chance to win the regular season championship next year. I know it did a lot for White because she texted me all through the night, the same day, and the next day she was texting me talking about things that she wanted to be able to try to do next year. Things that she felt like she had more to prove. Next year. So it was just a tough feeling after a loss, and it also was a great feeling to understand we know where we came from. It was a tough road for us the whole year, and for our kids to turn that thing around like the last half of the season. You talking about going from 2-7 to 6 and winning seven of your last 9 the conference game. That is huge, and I think our kids realize that. I just hope that they can remember that feeling that they had those first 2 games and actually get into that championship game next year, and we'll start off playing that way. But I also understand that because we play so many guarantee games, that's difficult. It's difficult for kids to do what we have to do and still be able to get that mojo back for conference play. And we asked a lot of our kids, and it's just hard to do. And a lot of kids can't do it. And we found a way to be able to get over that hump though, and have a successful season at the end.
Well, you talked about Jackson State, of course. They won the SWAC championship, and now they're playing UConn in Storrs, Connecticut. Tough draw for Jackson State. I know Coach Reed thought maybe she would be an 11 or 12 seed. Turns out to be a 15 seed. We've been reading about UConn. Just get your thoughts quickly. UConn, they lost 4 or 5 players to season-ending injuries. What are your thoughts, Coach, about that matchup? Jackson's got the depth, but then UConn with 7, 8 players, you're only playing 7 or 8, 6 anyway. What are we talked a little earlier about that. What's your initial thought? What's going to be the key? Because now we're pulling for the SWAC representative. We're pulling for whoever that is. In this case, it's Jackson State. And, of course, Grambling with a big win. The first time ever in the NCAA tournament, big win over Montana State. They got number 1 Purdue in Indianapolis. It's going to be a tough one. But what do you think about that matchup, Jackson State and UConn?
Well, it's going to be a tough matchup simply because they're playing UConn at UConn. That's always going to be tough. It don't matter how many kids they're playing. And the key is that, all of, they talk about UConn only having 7, 8 players, but I guarantee you, all of them McDonald All-Americans. They it ain't like you playing against us Alcorn, which we might have 2 players or 3 players that's really good, and the other ones that's role players and doing what they need to do to get you to that next level. But you can bet that all those kids for UConn are McDonald All Americans. So every last one of them are gonna be quality basketball players, and they're gonna when you make mistakes against them, they're gonna make you pay. They're gonna make you pay about scoring on you, about actually stealing the ball from you if you make those mistakes. Jackson's gonna have to be solid in everything that they do. They're gonna have to really make shots. I think that's key because UConn got Becker back, and she's gonna really put the ball in the basket. So it's gonna be key that they'll be able to score. If they can score against UConn, they can hang around. That's going to be key for them. But if they can't go through some of the droughts they go through against us, because Jackson went through some droughts against us, going 2 or 3 minutes without scoring. You can't do that against teams like UConn. They're going to make you pay for all those droughts that you go through by punishing you by putting the ball in the basket, because they're not going to go through a whole lot of droughts. They're going to find ways to score the basketball. And those 8 kids they got playing, you can bet all of them are going to be good basketball players.
We'll see how that turns out. Speaking of 8, Coach, you've got 8 players that either played their last game or with the COVID year, they have some options. So let's start with the players that have completely exhausted their eligibility. And I understand there are 2 of those. That's Tajane Wright and Nia McAlfia. Those 2 have exhausted all of their eligibility. That's right?
That is correct. That is correct. Both of those guys have exhausted all of their eligibility. They're true seniors.
They're true seniors. Okay, so
I
they're
think
done.
I think they are the only 2.
They're the only 2. Okay,
They're the
so
only
now
2.
you've got Backus Cheatham, you've got Henderson, Watkins, Ford, Janae Anderson. With the COVID, explain that, because from my understanding, this is the last year we're going to be talking about COVID. There will be no more COVID years left for anyone after this season. So that is still in play, correct?
That is still in play. And my thing is that the COVID situation is kind of simple. You had to be in college during COVID. If you was a freshman in college during COVID, or you was a freshman in junior college during COVID, or you was a sophomore in junior college during COVID, you would still get that year back. You had a year to play free, and it wouldn't count against you. That's all that COVID means. If you was in college, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, that means you would get another year. That's all it means, an extra year. So, and that Destiny Brown will be a senior for us next year, but it doesn't deal with COVID. She's not looking to get a COVID year. She only played 1 year of junior college. She had 3 years of eligibility left coming to us, but it's not dealing with COVID. But Cheatham, Backus, Henderson, and who else that from Oklahoma? All 3 of those kids would get those years. But Anderson, they all of them they got COVID years. And you saw what we celebrated them as seniors, but they're graduating, but they'll still have a year eligibility left.
What about Ford?
Ford has a year eligibility left. Ford was in junior college during that COVID year.
So now the question is the conversations, and I think you talked about it last year. It's kind of, I wouldn't say delicate, but on one side, you would like to know what their plans are, but then at the same time, you have plans yourself. So how is that? How does that work?
Yeah, I like the first word you use, is delicate. It's a delicate situation simply because we don't really know, because we haven't had the opportunity to meet with those kids yet, for as where they stand when it comes to coming back. Are they gonna get on the transfer portal? We just don't know right now. We'll know more next week. We do know some that are getting on that really wasn't a part of us this year because of injury or something of that nature. But we simply don't know. Kids have, because see, the thing about the transfer portal is, Charles, unless you talk to them, when we go on the transfer portal, we can't see our own kids. Only body you can see other teams. You can't tell whether or not your kid's on the transfer portal or not. You know, your compliance can call you and say, look, what you got on the transfer portal. But you can't go on the transfer portal and see them. Not you can't see your own players. The only body you can see is the other
Really?
team's
I
players.
didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, when I found out that Jasmine Jackson was on the transfer portal, Coach Harris called me from Alabama State, said, Nate, you got one on there. You know, that's how we do it. You know, we see somebody, one of our friends, we'll call the other one and tell them. But you can't see your own kids. Only thing you can see is your opponents.
So that catches coaches off guard. So that's one of the questions I've often
Well,
wondered when does it
well,
catch you off
that's
guard
why.
like that?
Well, that's why you have to have the conversation with your kids, Charles. We haven't met with our kids yet because they're going to tell you whether or not they're going to get on. You know, like I kind of knew Jackson was going to get on. I kind of know one more going. I think Gibson's going to get on there. We kind of know that, you know, from talking to them earlier, and they kind of let us know what they're thinking. But now the kids that was playing in the tournament, we don't know yet. We haven't really had a conversation with them. We don't know whether or not they're going to get on or not. We'll do that next week, and we'll kind of know who's going to get on there next week. A lot more than what we know now. Normally,
We're
that's what
talking with Lady.
happened. That would have happened this week, Charles. We would
Yeah.
have had that conversation, but with me dealing with my sister's situation, and I just didn't have a chance to meet with them.
So those meetings, I assume, will take place next week.
Yes, yes.
What are those meetings like? When I know Coach Bussey was having those meetings this week with his players. I was on campus the other day, and he was meeting with them one by one. They're waiting outside his office. What are those conversations like? I mean, just the back and forth with that.
Well, a lot of times, it's some tough decisions have to be made from the coach's standpoint and from the kids' standpoint too. Coaches looking at kids sometimes that they want to get on the transfer, they're not bringing back. And there's some kids who's getting ready to tell their coach they're going to get on the transfer, and coach want them to come back. So those some tough situations. But you know, a lot of times, my biggest thing is if I got a kid that's at Alcorn that don't want to be there, they can't help me anyways. That's the way I feel about it. I don't care who they are, because they're not going to be who they're capable of being if they don't want to be there. You know, you have to have kids who want at least want to be there. And I understand a lot of kids leave for a lot of different reasons, but if a kid don't want to be there, they can't give you the best of themselves anyway. So a lot of times I'd rather see them go on to other places and try to do better. You know, because when it's all said and done, it's really about the kids anyways. You want them to be the best that they possibly can be. You know, that's just, you know, I'm gonna bring up Kayla for example. Obello. I think if we had had her, we probably would have won probably 4 or 5 more games if she had to stay with us. But she wanted to do something different, and you can't blame her for that. You know, I thought she did a good job at Southern, and that's just the way it is sometimes. But we truly feel like if she had stayed with us, we'd have been a better team. But that's not how it works all the time. I'm proud of our kids who stayed, but the one that stayed wanted to be here. And I think that's the way it should be. If you don't want to be here, you should be allowed to be able to get on the transfer portal. And that'll be our conversation with our kids. You know, we had a great year, we had a great run, we had a great finish. But if you don't want to be here, you feel like you can go somewhere else and be a better person and be a better basketball player, you should do that.
And we're seeing already UAPB with one in the transfer portal. I think Alabama State with one. So we're seeing some of these names, matriculate through. Um, so the needs, coach, for next year. You and I were talking before we went on about the depth. How teams that had deep runs had depth. We talked about Jackson. We talked about Grambling. Clearly, with the players that we've lost, and some hopefully will come back, and we'll see how that works. But clearly, you want to develop more depth if we want to get to the next step.
We have to. We have to. I think we need more guard play, especially at the point guard position. I think we need at least 2 more point guards. You never got too many of those. I mean, I think we need more size at that position. I think we need more post players. So we definitely got to get somebody to replace Wright. Somebody who can really shoot the ball. Somebody who understands how to pass the ball. Uh, we got to get more depth at those positions, at the guard position, at our point guard position, even at our 2 guard position. We need someone. We need Claytor to be different person if she's coming back. We need her to be healthy because we need some scoring from those positions. We need some scoring from the center position when Destiny Brown gets in trouble. Ford is a solid defensive player, but we need someone that can score when she gets in trouble, and we bring a new lineup in. We're looking for kids who didn't play as much this year. We're looking for Renee EK Polo to be better next year. But we still need more depth at those positions, because this conference is a guard-oriented conference, and if you look at most teams, they are just loaded at guards. We have to get to the point where we're like that, and I think we need to sign at least 2 to 3 more post players, and at least 2 to 3 more guards. I just feel like we're looking at probably 5 or 6 kids now, guards and posts. If we can do
I was just
that,
going to
I
ask you
think
about
we would have the depth to be able to do some of the things that, along with the kids that we got coming back, they're going to have to step their game up too.
Excuse me, Coach, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to ask you about Maya Claytor. We did not bring her name up. I think we've lost Coach Kilbert again.
Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. Maya Claytor, I was just going to ask you about her. I mean, could she be the Tajane Wright? I mean, if she's on, I mean, we know when a healthy Maya Claytor looks like.
Yeah, but the thing about this, she would be that Tanjane right from the guard position. Yeah, she could be that because she can really shoot the basketball and stuff. But we got to hope that the injury that she's dealing with, she can be able to get through it because she's dealing with a foot injury, and she seemed to be the time off seemed to really help her with that. But she's gonna let some doctors back home look at it, and hopefully she'll come back in tip top shape. And we need her because she's one of our best shooters. But that's a guard position. We still need somebody right size, somebody about 6'1", 6 feet tall to play right position that can really shoot the ball along with Claytor. Then we have it from the guard and the post position because you look at Cheatham and White really shot the ball well in the tournament. Those 2 guards for us, wing players for us who shot the ball well. We could add Claytor with that. It's going to open the game up for Destiny a little bit more, allow her to be able to get more freedom, people not keying on her as much. The more shooters you have, the better opportunity that you make it for your rest of your teammates.
You and I were talking about the whole, it's a different time now. Transfer portal, NIL. You talk about all the players that, potentially we could lose. You were saying that you got to re-recruit these kids all over again. Is that kind of the way it's going? I know you talk to other coaches. Is this the new norm? I mean, you got to re-recruit Destiny Brown. She was a monster. She was a beast in the tournament. I mean, is that kind of the way you got to look at it? You got to re-recruit Zaniyah White. You got to re-recruit these others. Is that where we are?
That's it. I mean, you re-recruit them again. That means you got to convince them to stay. That's the recruitment part of it again. I guess I'm different in this way. I don't believe in trying to make a kid stay when they don't want to be there because they're not going to give you their best. You know what I mean? I think kids like White, Cheatham, they want to be there. I'm not sure about Destiny right now. When I have a conversation with her next week, I'll know more. But I know White and Cheatham want to be there. I don't look. It would shock me if they got on the transfer portal. I mean, it would turn me over if they got on it. But I'm not sure about some of the other ones. But I think the kid have to really want to be at Alcorn to be the best they possibly can be. But it's all about you're almost re-recruiting them again, though, Charles. And it's difficult. Some of the things that they see that you don't offer that other schools might offer. That's the problem you have. When you can get away with it and they don't know it or don't, it's not important to them, it's easier. But money is important to all of them, and that's what it's all about now. It's all about money. At some point in this athletic career, this is all athletes gonna be employees. They're gonna be paid. They're gonna be paid employees. That's what it's coming to. And if you're not with that, you're not gonna be able to get into these top athletes. It's simple.
Yeah. Well, Coach, before we let you go, I mean, this is the coaching business, as you know, is a brutal business. And we've got some coaching changes in this conference the last few days. Coach for Florida A&M, after a long run, he's no longer there. Coach Richards for Alabama A&M. Margaret Richards, women's coach at Alabama A&M, she was let go, and I could just remember a few years ago when she had 7 players for the whole season, and her team was right there in the thick of the regular season race with 7 players. So, things have changed. New administration, Dr. Paul Bryant there as athletic director. You and I talked before we went on. It's a tough business. And in this conference, these last few years, you're seeing a lot of movement. Whereas 10 years ago, you kind of ride out the storm and see what happens. But we're in a new day of time, more pressure, more money, better athletes, transfer portal. You can turn your roster over if you choose to and win right now. And it's just unfortunate that when you haven't won in a few years or not at the level that's expected, changes get made. And before we went on, Coach, I asked you the question, is coaching still a profession where you're hired to get fired? That just sounds so brutal, but that's just the brutal reality.
It is. It's the truth, Charles. I thought Margaret did a great job at A&M. She was a class act for one thing, and her teams were. She didn't have bad teams. And you look at you're talking about she only had 7 players, but they battled. I mean, they battled. Those kids came out and gave other teams hell, and it's just the way it is, though. These athletic directors, they want to win. They want to win right now. At no cost. I just look at my 4 years at Alcorn. My first year there was the COVID year. We actually made the tournament. My second year there, we caught COVID. Our team caught COVID, and we forfeited a lot of games. We did make the tournament, and I look back over those 4 years. My only disappointing year was last year's team. My first recruiting class with Destiny and Cheatham and White and them. That was the year that I feel like we should have went to the tournament and we didn't go, and came back this year and we got it done. So, but they don't care about that. They don't care about it being COVID. They feel like everybody's going through COVID. But it's just the different options that players have now when it comes to why do I choose Jackson State over Alcorn. It's a reason why kids are doing that. Some of the same kids that's at Jackson State, we recruited them. We thought they was coming to us. But when you start talking about the financial part of it, it makes no sense. The kids they're gonna make the business decision. And I just think that until the playing field is level in that area where the business decision is being made, you're not going to ever get those top kids. And not saying that you can't win some of the games without getting top kids, but it's a lot easier because I feel like there was a lot of teams in the conference, a lot more talented than we were from top to bottom, but we found ways to win. From top to bottom, there was plenty of teams I feel like that had a lot more quality players than what we had. But we found ways to win those games. So we're trying to get to the point where we can build a program, though. I think you build a program by getting quality players from top to bottom, and you can win year in and year out. Well, we hadn't got to that point yet. I'm hoping we're getting closer to that, but we want to win year in and year out. I'm talking about championships, having an opportunity to win a championship year in and year out, and that's difficult to do until you start raising the bar when it comes to what you're offering. And right now, we got some work to do in those areas.
Did you get a little bit of a boost from the interest standpoint in the Lady Braves program with the run that we had in this postseason? I mean, we were on ESPN Plus, ESPN2 for the championship game. Did that help, stir the pot a little bit and get a little bit more interest in Lady Braves basketball? Have you seen that?
Well, the interest has always been there with Lady Braves basketball, Charles. The interest has been there, back even you hear people talking about back when we were winning the championship all the time. The interest has always been there, but it's the business side to all of that. You can be interested in once you start talking business, and when I say business, I'm talking about money. We start talking about money, what Pell Grant, we start all things, cost of attendance and all that different stuff. Are you doing that? And the other teams that are recruiting me, are they doing it? That's the problem right there. We're going to get a lot of calls now because we played in the tournament. But when it get down to, am I going to Alcorn or am I going to Penn State or wherever the other team recruiting me? Who's giving me what I'm looking for? And all these kids are looking for money. in some form or the other, either by Pell Grant, or either by cost of attendance, or either by NIL deals. That's what they're looking for. And so they're going to make the business decision. I don't care how much they like you. I don't care how much they like Alcorn. When it's all said and done, it's going to be a business decision. And you can't get mad at kids for making business decisions. If I can make $5,000 more a semester going here, why would I come to you? It's simple. And so we have to find those kids that might not be as good as some of the other kids and might not have as many options. We have to get those kids all the time. And now it's just, you got to do a better job of scouting. You got to do a better job of doing a lot of things when it comes to you don't have the same type personnel that someone else has, or the depth that someone else has. And I think to us, depth was more important this year than anything. But that's what the game is all. That's what the game is. It came to the point where it's a business decision. And most of those business decisions, they're going to go with what gives them more money. It's simple.
Yeah. Couple of questions, Coach, before we let you go. What's your schedule like? I know you're dealing with your sister again. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family during this time. What's your schedule like when you get back on campus? Will it be next week after? What's your schedule like here over the next few weeks?
Well, Charles, what we plan on doing, me and the coach are going to sit down on Sunday and kind of talk about when we're going to meet with the kids, and we're trying to go out next week sometime, and we're trying to find out when the junior college playoffs start, and exactly some of the kids that we're trying to see. We got a couple kids we want to look at this not in the playoff, so we kind of going to be all over the place a little bit next week. But I hope we're going to have to sit down with all our kids, and so we'll kind of know what we got when it comes to scholarships, who's going to be on the transfer portal, who's not. So we look to meet with them around Wednesday to kind of have a conversation with them about who's coming back and who's not.
And then, of course, we started the show. It's now official per IHL release that Dr. Tracy Cook is now the president. He was interim. That interim tag has been taken off. I know you talked with him before you left going to Birmingham. He told you he felt like he had a good run in you.
Well, he said it. He said, I've been watching you guys, where you guys been playing. I feel like you guys going to have a nice run in that tournament. And all I did was agree with him. I said, I feel the same way, Doc. And, he called it, though, and I was feeling the same way anyways, and we went in and did what we were supposed to do, had a great run in the tournament. And we just hope we can carry some of this over to next year. We can keep some of our good kids there, and we can sign some good kids along with these kids right here, and we make a run for the regular season championship. That's what I want to do, and get into the tournament and make a run for the tournament championship. I want to have opportunity to make a run for both of them.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I think we can kind of talk about it now. The SWAC schedule next year is going to be different, and I don't know, for those who might not know, SWAC games next year, and this is per approval of the Council of Presidents in the spring meetings coming up in May, but it has been proposed that SWAC games, typically on Saturday and Monday, starting next season, if passed, SWAC games will be on Thursday, Saturday, and Monday, meaning the women's games will be on Thursday and Saturday. Saturday is part of a men's-women's doubleheader. The men will still play on Saturdays and Mondays, but the women's games will be on Thursdays. Thursday only will be the women's games. Saturday will be men and women doubleheader. And then on Monday, the men only will play. So we're just putting that out there. It's been talked about on social media. Talk with the SWAC office about it, and they just want to get the temperature of folks out there. I kind of talked about it last week. That's going to be interesting, Coach. Thursdays and Saturdays as compared to Saturdays and Mondays. I think it's going to pass, but we'll see what the Council of Presidents thinks. From what I'm hearing and was talking with folks in Birmingham, looks like it might happen. If it does happen, Coach, how interesting would that be in terms of scheduling and travel and all those other logistics?
Well, I think it's going to pass. I think it's going to pass because what's the purpose of it? I think is to give women more opportunities to be on TV, to be on ESPN on Thursday nights. I think that's the purpose of it, to give us more opportunity to actually play on national television. And but it will be different when it comes to scheduling, though. Leaving in the middle of the week sometime, I just think it'll be different. But also, we won't be leaving in the early part of the week, we have that Monday off. We get opportunity to do some things earlier. But it's gonna be interesting. The adjustment is gonna be different. I think this is gonna have to take getting used to, especially for the women's playing on that Thursday. But I think it's gonna work out. I think it's gonna be a good thing in the long run when it comes to women's basketball getting that attention that we dearly need.
Well, just to be selfish, you know who's going to impact? The radio announcer. It's going to impact me. When the Lady Braves play Bethune-Cookman on Thursday, then I'm going to Tallahassee on Saturday to do Lady Braves and men against Florida A&M. Then I'm going back to Daytona to do the men's game versus Bethune-Cookman. That's the way it's going to work, and it's going to be on the home games too. It's going to be some interesting travel, to say the least.
Charles, you got to rack up some frequent fly miles, man. You're gonna be in the air a lot.
Well, hey, as they say, you got life's about adjustments, so it'll be interesting to see. But, Coach, you talked about the adjustments. I am so excited for this team. I'm excited for this program, and I think just this run that we had, and you talk about this roster for next year. You hope you keep a lot of the band together, and I'm looking forward to making another run at it. We look at the SWAC for next year. We open up at home with Jackson State, Alabama State, and A&M, so a chance to make an early statement. And who knows to see how this thing might turn out.
Yeah, and I think those early games are going to be important for this group, Charles, because it's going to be an experienced group, and we can get all of them to come back. And some of the kids we're looking to add are going to be experienced kids too. So those first 3 games are going to be big for us. And, they always been big, but we haven't been ready for those first 3 because those were some of the best teams in our conference. So now we're going to have those 3 games at home. If we can get off to a good start, it'll be very interesting.
Well, Coach, we sure appreciate it. Again, thoughts and prayers with you and your family, and we'll be talking down the road. I'm looking forward to it already, but I know that there's a lot of work to be done between now and November when we tip it off. We appreciate it, man.
All right, Charles. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
That'll do it for the Nate Kilbert program. Charles Edmond, our producers, Cedric Tillman on the video side, as well as Jamario Brooks. The Landon Bussey program will be Tuesday at 5:30. We'll be talking Braves basketball with head coach Landon Bussey. Tough way for the Braves to go out, and we'll be talking about that. And the men have at least 6 that might be playing in their final game. And some, we was talking with Jalen Hawkins. I think he's done. So we'll see how things turn out as far as that is concerned. We'll talk all about that on Tuesday at 5:30 with Braves head men's coach Landon Bussey. That'll do it. Here, I'm Charles Edmond for the Nate Kilbert program. We'll talk to you on Tuesday as we wrap up the men. We'll talk to you then. So long.